So welcome to How to Live in Love. My name is Alexander Bell, and I'm the author of the book How to Live in Love, which you can download for free from www.alexanderbell.org. Now, this episode of this podcast is entitled Joy, the antidote to fear, anger, and darkness. Now, there's so much in this world that brings us down, that weighs upon our heart, troubles our mind, and makes us feel isolated and afraid. You could say this is the human condition, and it is about as far from joy as you can possibly get, especially when we are lost in states of hopelessness and fear. So as a species, we have a metaphoric mountain to climb, back to more consistent states of inspiration, happiness and joy. If these are to become the norm in our civilization, which I assure you they are destined to be, then we each have to focus upon our own heart and see what is oppressing it, what is keeping us in negative states and preventing us from contributing our inherently joyous nature to this world, which is our purpose. People may argue that we are not inherently joyous, but just look at young children playing together in nature. That was how we started out, and that is our true essence, that playfulness, humour, mischievousness and light-heartedness. Of course, most of us lost it as we grew older and adjusted, or more accurately, maladjusted to our society and civilization. Surrounded by a climate of seriousness and gravity, it is not surprising that we slowly became more and more weighed down by the adult ways of the world, and consequently we became less and less happy, less inspired, less creative, less passionate, and less joyful. The ways of the world crept into our heart and tainted our natural joyful innocence, which is the essence of who we are. We became judgmental about free expression, about being joyful and carefree. We became more reserved, more like everybody else. We conformed to the norm. But guess what? The real you, the inspired, creative and joyful you, has not gone away. It only became buried, withheld and hidden from yourself and from the world. But it is still there. The child who you once were is still there in your heart, desperate for free expression, play, laughter and fun. Perhaps you find this hard to believe now that you have grown up, but I assure you that it is true. In the eyes of the adult world, these are frivolous and unproductive qualities that do not make the cogs of the societal machine turn more effectively. And the denial of them within you is par for the course. We relegate their importance. They drop way down our priority list because they are not valued as a commodity by the world around us, and we inevitably become serious and generally unhappy as a result. But these qualities are incredibly valuable. In fact, the most valuable aspect of who we are. They are vital to our appreciation and enjoyment of being alive, absolutely vital. And it is of the utmost importance that we do enjoy and appreciate being alive, because in this we experience our wholeness, our depth, our fulfillment, and our sense of union with the universe. There is nothing more important, and without this basic enjoyment of being alive, we miss the purpose of life itself. It is meant to be a joyful and wondrous experience that we share together, and thus amplify the enjoyment by doing so. This is a vision of heaven upon earth, and this is exactly what we are all working towards, whether we realize it or not. We are collectively becoming more conscious of the human dysfunction and our own dysfunction in the process. We are learning about how we make ourselves, and thus others, suffer through our stubbornness, selfishness, greed, judgment, aggression and arrogance. We are noticing and learning about these aspects of our personality, and we're doing what we can to overcome them, to eradicate them, to heal them. This is a personal journey each one of us is on. It may be a slow and arduous journey, But each little decision we make that moves us away from dysfunction and selfishness brings more light into our life, into our heart, into our relationships, and into the world. We each have been given a most precious and beautiful gift, our heart, a radiant, loving, giving and deeply caring entity in and of itself. The human heart is the most divine and magnificent creation in the entire universe, and you have one. Are you aware of it? Do you know what it needs? Is it active in your life? How much of your attention does it get? Is it strong? Is it healthy? Is it free? These are the vital questions we must each ask ourselves and work on addressing. We do need a strong, active and healthy heart that we can feel, that gets plenty of our attention. It needs to be the dominant force in our life, making the most vital decisions in our life in consultation with our intelligence. We must consider what improves our ability to be a light in this world, to increase our desire to care for others, to support and understand others, rather than judge and condemn them, ourselves included. As our heart gets more of our attention, gets consulted more regularly, becoming stronger and more active in our day-to-day life, we notice ourselves becoming a deeper person, a more whole and rounded human being, with the facets of compassion, humour and joy shining more and more brightly among many others. A deeper sense of fulfillment is experienced, and our relationships become more rich, more harmonious, more fun and more enjoyable. Life becomes a much more rewarding and enjoyable experience, with a deep sense of purpose and direction. We are moving away from the sense of terminal seriousness created by the adult thinking mind, away from worry, away from fear, away from criticism, judgment and hostility. And we are embracing, or more accurately, remembering, the heart-based truth of who we really are. Is there a downside? Of course not. But we must be willing to let go of our fears, let go of our judgment, anger and resentment. We must be willing to forgive all those people who we feel hurt us or wronged us. This is essential if our heart is to become more free and more joyful. Resentment keeps us trapped in the cycle of blame and anger that slowly destroys our joy and our compassion, and forgiveness is the only way to release it. So how do we forgive? It is simple. We consciously decide to stop punishing someone, stop throwing out our anger in their direction, even if they are no longer alive or in our life. Sending out anger and bitterness simply brings it back to us, and our heart continues to be poisoned. For our heart to be free, it must forgive. It must stop punishing with anger. Only then can love and joy be fully restored. So as you can see, we each have work to do, to let go of that which weighs down and poisons our heart, that which divides us from all the people we know and meet. So to rise above this, we must be practical, as mental theories simply keep us in our mind. We need to become aware of how everything we do affects us, what we eat, what we think, what we watch and listen to, what we read, the environments we choose to spend our time in. Everything affects us, because we are so much more sensitive and easily influenced than we realise. The information that we read, watch and listen to influences our thoughts, often encouraging greater negativity within them. We observe the villains of the moment in the news and in politics, and we are encouraged to be angry, sometimes even hateful in our opinions about them, and this rubs off on everyone we interact with. All the negative global news simply encourages a negative mindset, one of fear and anxiety about how things might turn out in the future. Watching violence in films desensitizes us and thickens our skin, encouraging us to be guarded and tough-minded, rather than open, sensitive and vulnerable with the people we interact with. All the advertising, which is specifically engineered to influence us subconsciously, makes us feel inadequate and insecure about ourselves, encouraging us that we will be more likeable, more popular, and more acceptable if we just spend our money on certain things. Days of predominantly being sedentary, staring at screens of one sort or another, rather than being outdoors, enjoying nature and being active, make us feel tired, lazy, unenthusiastic, demotivated, and often denies us the deep states of sleep we all need to recuperate and recharge every night. And the food, the terrible food that people put in their body, just compounds this sense of physical malaise. We are either overstimulated by sugar, chocolate, coffee and so on, resulting in inevitable energy crashes, or we are weighed down by heavy, hard-to-digest meals that make us feel sluggish and tired, often encouraging digestive problems and a sense of physical unease. You see, it is very hard to be aware of your heart when your entire digestive system is groaning and aching as a result of what you have eaten. And stimulants such as sugar, coffee, etc. turbocharge our energy levels and release adrenaline, making us feel temporarily super energized and efficient, yet unable to be calm, steady, attentive, and aware of the more subtle things. Things like sugar and coffee and chocolate can actually make us feel more aggressive and irritable, especially when they leave our bloodstream, because almost all stimulants and drugs have a withdrawal effect when they wear off. Balanced, more simple, natural and lighter eating makes us more sensitive, more alert, and more naturally energized without the need for stimulants. We start to feel a natural high just from being alive, especially if we include a high percentage of raw foods, juices and smoothies in our diet. Couple this with regularly spending more time in nature, walking, hiking or cycling perhaps, then you are drastically changing the way you nourish your heart and your body, and you will feel it. You will feel more healthy, more inspired, more alive, and more positive about life generally. Your day-to-day moods will change. You will feel more uplifted. And add to this a drastic reduction in screen time, whether it's social media, YouTube, TV or anything else, plus a more regular sleeping habit of going to bed earlier and eating a light evening meal, and you'll be amazed how much brighter, happier, and healthier you feel. Your patterns of thought will naturally change to be more positive, especially as you realize that you are in control of how you feel. You no longer feel at the mercy of other people, of world events, politics, etc., because your sense of freedom and joy does not depend on them. It is completely the result of your choices and your decisions. This is one of the most liberating realizations we can have, that our choices determine our experience of life. They determine how we feel, how we think, how we perceive the world around us, and how we act within it. Your amazingly powerful yet seemingly insignificant choices, they will take you in the direction of health, joy and fulfillment if that is where you want to go. Or they will keep you stuck in repetitive cycles of negative thoughts, feelings and behavior. And then life simply seems like a broken record going round and round that you have no power to change. But the power you have is not so much to change the world, but more to transcend the inner negativity, division and darkness that human society can encourage within us. So the vital change occurs within you. As you make more wise, intelligent, conscious and life-affirming choices that nourish and uplift your heart, you become more full of light, more full of joy. You become happy and radiant. You begin to shine like the sun, acting as an example and an inspiration to those around you and to those you encounter. It really does all begin with you, today. Thank you for listening to this podcast, How to Live in Love. Please download the free book, also entitled How to Live in Love, from alexanderbell.org. And you can also download